Today I'm going to do a really easy card. It's a card that actually I had seen another demonstrator do, and I was so impressed with it that I said, you know what, I like that layout. I'm going to change it just a little bit and share it with you guys. So I am using a card base that is crumb cake, which I don't use a lot, but that I enjoy using. And I've got it standard size, 5.5 by 4.25 will be the final measurement. So it's just 1/2, if you remember, 1/2 of a standard piece of cardstock. Cut in half gives you the card base for this. And so then I took the tulips, framed tulips folder, and I ran half of it, well, I ran the whole thing, but I wrapped the folder around just the front of it so that we have the whole front is framed. And I don't mind doing that because I think it kind of looks neat in the back. But if you don't like the embossing in the back, then you can take a separate piece of paper and then mount it on your card base when you get done. So that's all that is for that. And then the other pieces of paper I have with this is I've got a piece of early espresso, another piece of the crumb cake, and a piece of white. And you might think that I'm going to stamp on the white. I am not. I'm going to actually stamp on the crumb cake and use the white as a mat in this case. Okay, so you'll see how this is going to come out in a little bit. So I'm using our new Easter Blossom set, and I've got the wood version, and I'm using this large floral version, and all I'm doing is inking it up with a deep color. This color is sepia, and I'm just going to ink that up, and then I'm going to stamp it onto the crumb cake, but kind of like off the top of the paper. So my branch is actually going to be on the top left, and you're looking at this kind of upside down. But my branch is up on the top left, and I'm stamping it down. Okay, so it looks like that. And then I'm going to take the greeting in there, which is sending springtime smiles, and I'm going to stamp that off to the right. And so you end up with that. Okay, super easy, but here's where it becomes interesting. I'm going to take the white gel pen that we sell, and I'm going to use the white gel pen to pop the small blossoms. So I'm just going to get that going and just do all the blossoms. And so I might speed up the video, but literally all I'm doing is coloring each blossom petal with the white gel pen, and I'm not trying to cover it all, so I'm not coloring the centers, just the petals. That really pops. The white gel pen, it just pops it. And what it reminds me of is cotton. It reminds me of cotton blossoms. So it might actually change what it's supposed to be. So after I've got those all popped, right? Sometimes what I like to do is I like to de-stress edges on these things that are more natural in nature. So I use the Stampin' Up! De-stressing tool to do that, and you can buy this as a kit. It has it has a distressing tool, a perforation tool, a cutting tool, and some scissors. So it's really kind of cool. But I use the distressing tool and the little scissors the most. Although the perforation tool is great for when you want to make bookmark cards, and then you can use the perforation tool so that they can pull out their bookmark. It looks really professional. Okay, so I decided to do that to my edges. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the white and the brown and the Earl Espresso. So this piece is Whisper White, and it is actually accenting the blossoms. You know, most of the time we would use the white to stamp on. In this case, it's accentuating the blossoms, and that's why it's used as part of the mat. And so I distress it too. And when I distress, I'm not at all looking for symmetry. I'm actually looking for a raw feel. And then this is a piece of Earl Espresso. And what's interesting is that all of this is scrap. So you see that I had pulled this out of my bin. On one side was the Christmas wheel. Well, it was scrap, so I turned it over. And it's not as textured on the other side, but it's perfect for this goal. So I try to use up my scraps whenever I can. Alright, so that's good enough. I'm just going to take that white paper away, and I'm going to mount all this down. So the white goes on top of the Earl Espresso. Okay, and the crumb cake goes on top of the white. Big thing I can tell you about crumb cake is I love it for everything, you know, that I love craft for. But you do have to be careful that you don't get your fingerprints on it. So keep your hands clean, because crumb cake will pick up fingerprints really easily, I've found. And then this whole thing is going to go on the card base with the stamping dimensionals. Put one in the middle so it doesn't sink. Yeah, just pull those off. I find that if I pinch in the middle of these, they come up a lot faster, just as a tip. And then I'm going to put this down on my card front. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I have a little ribbon that I made a bow with in advance. I'm going to put a little glue dot on the back of that bow, and I'm going to put that bow you can put it one of two places. You can put it in the corner that has nothing, or you can put it on top of the branch. And in this case, I'm just going to try it on the corner that has nothing. And I already in advance kind of beveled my ends, and there's the card for today. It's really simple, clean and simple kind of a card, but it has a little bit of distressing too to give you a neat effect. But most importantly, it takes advantage of the white gel pen and our distressing tool. So thank you for coming. Have a good afternoon.